So with this Just Flying series of videos, I've been numbering them. And as this is now number 100, I thought, let's do something different. But don't get too excited, it's not that good. So instead of New Zealand, where I do most of my flying, or an occasional Japan or America, I thought, let's start this episode at my house. Yep, I actually live there. Yeah, in reality that building is split into 3 thinner terrace type houses, and I'm in one of those. It's not great, but kind of in the right place, I suppose. Yeah, then when I said I live fairly close to Birmingham Airport, yes, I really do. It's just over there. Yeah, where that looked like something was incoming, didn't it? So, am I about to get landed on? Oh, crap. Okay, then, yeah, ATC doing a good job there. Yeah, well done, lads. See, screw it, let's just go for it. Yeah, in the Blackburn Beverley, by the way. Yep. HEBB Birmingham, where there's a lovely big and more modern terminal on the left these days, which is more in keeping for an airfield of this size and passenger numbers. But on the right, which is now basically a cargo and maintenance area, plus a few private executive jet kind of aircraft use that. That smaller tower you can see over there, it's actually the old terminal building and tower from many years ago. Don't know when they officially moved to the other side of the runway to that more modern one, but I do have memories of being a little boy going on holiday with my mum and dad and flying out of the old terminal. It's still there now and always will be too, as the terminal and tower. It's an Art Deco style listed building now, so they can't ever knock it down. Yeah, not too bad of a representation of Birmingham for a default airfield. Does look something like that, and I think it's also included the runway extension they put in a few years ago, so that we can now have our daily Emirates A380 and occasional 747 cargo flights too, usually Silkway or National. Yeah, so I did specially make this one ortho tile for this episode, but I'm sure I will delete it again after we land, as even though I live here, I just never fly in England. Okay, my first few flights when I got X-Plane 11 were around this area, but I've just never bothered since. Yeah, New Zealand has become my sim home instead, as I just find that more interesting. Yeah, by comparison to NZ or even Japan or some other places where I do a little bit of flying, a lot of England, it's quite flat. Visually a bit dull and uninteresting to me, but each to their own. X-Plane gives us a whole world to fly in, so we can all pick our favourite bits. Yeah, so next big city we're coming to is a place called Coventry, and I did live in Coventry for about a year, and well, Let me put it this way. I spent 1 year living in Coventry, and I've spent nearly 56 years not living in Coventry on purpose. That probably tells you all you need to know. But it does have an airport, and that's where I had my first flight. Yeah, I think first 5 or 6 lessons were from there. Just in case you didn't know, by the way, my last flight was 1996, so my licence has been lapsed for quite a few years. But I did once have a PPL, the private pilot's licence, so yeah, I have done this for real once upon a time. Yeah, at Birmingham, never landed there and actually touched down on the tarmac, but I have flown some ILS approaches into there while I was training. But Coventry, though, yep, I did actually fly from there. And also what used to fly from there quite a few years ago now, an airline called Thomson Fly. They started a few routes at Coventry. Didn't last very long, and the airfield was really not set up to handle a 737 with a load of passengers. But I did have a few flights with them from Coventry going over to see my mate in Spain. And on one of those return flights back home again, I got to experience by far the worst landing by a professional pilot I've ever had. Rangers go out to check for foreign object debris, FOD, on this occasion. I think they would have gone out to check for dents in the runway. Yeah, the phrase hard landing doesn't even begin to cover this one. It was terrible. Seriously, I wouldn't be shocked if it had triggered enough monitors in the aircraft where a maintenance crew would need to check the plane before it went out on its next flight. It was horrendous. Yes, just a default airport again, and not great for realism, but alright, I suppose. So yeah, I had my first few lessons there at Coventry, and at the time I started I didn't know, but the flying school was owned by two people who were just in the process of falling out with each other in a very big way. The end result was one of them stayed there and the other one left and started his own flying school at another airfield not far away called Wellesbourne. That guy was also my instructor. So got a phone call one day from him, and he said, yeah, look, just open my own place, no pressure, just come and have a look and see what you think. So drove down to Wellesbourne a few days later, all seemed very nice, and I went there to finish my training and did all my flying out of Wellesbourne after that. So that's where we're going next, and where we're going to land as well. Yeah, it was originally a wartime RAF station, and as was typical of the time, it had 3 runways in a triangle formation, but 2 of those were shot and became taxiways, and the only runway in use when I was flying was 1836. I believe they have opened half of one of those former taxiways to turn it into a second shorter runway now, but we'll do the straight in on the one I remember. And the other thing of note at Wellesbourne is they have an Avro Vulcan parked there. It will never fly again, but they keep it in what they call taxi condition. And never seen it move myself, but it has sometimes been taken for a drive around the airfield. Then about 2 years ago, they had a higher speed taxi down the runway, didn't manage to stop in time and nearly went through a fence onto a road. Yeah, brilliant. Don't know if anything else has been said since then, but at the time it was blamed on a faulty airspeed indicator, meaning they went faster than they thought they were going, and blame what you want, you've basically just crashed a piece of aviation history like a twat. Yeah, fortunately it was largely okay and recovered from the mud, but yeah, you twat. I doubt the Vulcan will be in a default scenery, but we'll see, as it is just up ahead now. Yeah, then just before the airfield, we're about to overfly a little village called Charlecote, which is part of the local rules here. Yeah, you had to do a 30-degree right turn immediately after takeoff to not overfly the village for noise abatement. but you can overfly landing, as at this point you're using much less power, so it's less noisy, so kind of a compromise sort of thing. Yeah, it's this end of the airfield where the Vulcan had its overrun, and the building and bit of asphalt at this near right hand corner is where they park the Vulcan when they're not crashing it into a field like a twat. Yeah, I wonder if the pilot that day used to work for Thomson Fly at Coventry. Yeah, don't know. Yeah, it does bring back some memories flying that approach again, as I have done it many times in real life. But not in a Blackburn Beverley, but it seemed okay. Yeah, for a plane I don't fly very much and I'm not really familiar with yet, yeah, I'd say that was acceptable. Yeah, in real life I have made better landings and also worse ones here, so yeah, that will do. Turn off down here, which is now the added short runway, although as I said this was just a taxiway back in my time here. Yeah, then we'll go and park up by my old flying school. I know it got sold and they changed the name, so it's not the Avon Flying School now, but I assume the building is still there. Although we'll see, because I don't know how accurate, because just here on the left, that's where the fuel tanks and refuelling area is supposed to be, so not a perfect reproduction of the place, but yeah, just like the others, this is only a default airfield, so I'm not expecting full custom loveliness. Yeah, used to be a small tower here that's missing as well. There is a name for it which I can't remember now. It's basically an amateur kind of tower. They operated like a normal tower frequency, but couldn't clear you to do anything. The phrases always ended with, instead of cleared to land, it was land at your discretion. All worked well enough and better than not having a tower at all, so that was okay. And this little building here, it's about the right size and shape, totally the wrong colour, but it is in the right place. Yeah, that was the Avon Flying School once. Yeah, so there we go then, episode 100. Yeah, nothing too exciting, but I thought I'd show you my home and a bit of my history for a change. As I said, I'll probably never come back here again, so yeah, return to the normal kind of crap for the next one. So until then, may your landings be better than Thomson Fly and your brakes work better than a twat with a Vulcan bomber. Yeah, I'll see you soon. Bye.